Coming up on today's show, hero shooter Concord is getting pulled from sale. Britt played The Legend of Zelda Echoes of Wisdom and has thoughts about it, and we saw a bunch of you at PAX West. What's good, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the What's Good Games podcast, your source for video game news, commentary, analysis, and funny stuff every Friday. I am one of your hosts with the raspy voice from PAX, Andrea Renee, joined by Mrs. Riana Manuel-Peña.
My voice is surprisingly solid. I didn't get enough sleep to sound this good, but I'm also here. Yes, hi.
Hi. Wearing a PAX shirt, no less, but not one from this year. And joining us with a throwback photo that I just could not resist, the blonde nerd, Brittany Brombacher.
Oh, hello. Yes. If you're on youtube.com/whatsgoodgames right now, I suddenly look like 20 years younger. I don't know.
You look the same. You look
I appreciate
the same.
that. I think this picture was taken in like 2010. So I appreciate that so much.
I love it.
Yeah, no. It's been a day for me, friends, and I told Andrea, I'm like, listen, I'm not camera ready today. So just slap a picture over me and we'll call it good.
And I said, sounds like a plan, Stan.
Love you for this.
I love you. And we love all of you who joined us at PAX West up in Seattle for our What's Good farewell party presented by Life is Strange. Double exposure with our good friends at Square Enix. Thank you so much to the entire team at Square and Deck 9 who were fantastic partners on this collaboration event. It went excellently. I was hoping against hope, ladies, that it wasn't going to be so sweaty again this time, but we pulled the hot weather short straw in Seattle, which meant that it was a beautiful weekend, nice and sunny, but it also meant that we were also sweaty. But thank you to everybody for sticking it out and for coming to visit us and all of your fun memories and everything that you shared and the photos you posted. Keep them coming. We love it.
Yes, please keep tagging us. It's good to collect those.
Heck yes. I want them all. And we have the wonderful Alex Van Aken join us to help us record a video. So keep your eyes peeled for that. We're hopefully going to get that rolling in the not too distant future. And ladies, we only have 3 weeks left of the show.
Woo. Wow. Damn.
Isn't that wild?
I know. It's so weird. I'm happy we'll be in studio together with some special guests for our last one, but I don't know. It's like the closer it gets, it just doesn't feel real, I guess. This party felt, we had a moment on stage when we were doing the raffle and we were all sweating our balls and vaginas off. But I was like, damn, is this really going to be the last What's Good meetup? And it's like, yeah. I am hearing a lot of people say we need to do reunion tours and shit, though.
Hey, I'm always down for a reunion.
It sounds fun. I could be down for that. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I think it'd be fun. But no, it was kind of that surreal moment. So I think it's little moments like that hit me kind of when I least expected, that make it feel more real, because it still doesn't feel real. But I think we've been doing a show for 7.5 years or whatever. It doesn't really just happen where you just accept it, I guess. I don't know. I'm processing in real time.
That's okay. It's a journey. Take your time on that journey. No need to rush it. Thank you so much to this month's super producers, Ferris Atia, Joshua Franklin, and Punctified, who came and helped out at the party. What a guy. And thank you to all of the wonderful people who helped at the party. Doc Brook, Solid Snake, Whiskey Jack, Susu Dip, Sapphire Diamond Ruby. You all were wonderful to see and hang out with, and it was awesome also to see Sly, who was in charge of the PAX panel theater. So got to see them, which was really great, and everybody else that we got to say hello to. And Daniel Hull, of course, can't forget you for helping out running the table and just generally being helpful, and to everybody who showed up and shared your memories and, took
bracelets.
Photos. Oh, yes, we're wearing our bracelets.
Oh, I should have mine on. I love those bracelets so much.
It's so cute. My daughter keeps trying to steal it from me, and I'm like, no, it's Mama. Go break your own bracelets.
Yep.
Oh, 3-year-olds. They're just so destructive, everybody. We are excited to talk about some video games that we played at PAX West a little bit later on in the show. But we have a little bit of news to talk about. As you can imagine, in the wake of Gamescom and PAX West, there isn't a ton of news. But some sad news to start the show. Concord is suddenly getting pulled offline, with Sony promising full refunds. On the PlayStation blog, it was announced that Firewalk Studios' new hero shooter, Concord, is being removed from sale. Game director Ryan Ellis writes, "While many qualities of the experience resonated with players, we also recognize that other aspects of the game and our initial launch didn't land the way we intended. We have decided to take the game offline beginning September 6th, 2024, and explore options, including those that will better reach our players. While we determine the best path ahead, Concord sales will cease immediately, and we will begin to offer a full refund for all gamers who have purchased the game for PS5 or PC." The game was on sale for just 11 days, sold just 25,000 copies, and will not be playable after September 6th, even for players who choose not to seek a refund. This is after 8 years of development. If you want details on how to get your refund and the various methods by which that's possible, head on over to the PlayStation blog and you can check out all of that information. But this
Yikes.
has been such a disappointing story to read and to kind of hear about, and I think we all knew that this game was going to run into some hurdles, but I never anticipated this.
No. 2 weeks? That's not. I mean, people are just getting back from PAX and Gamescom. Like we and this may be speaking to one of the issues for the launch, but we just had the Call of Duty beta weekend as well. And there's still a lot of people, at least on the media and reviewer side, getting through Star Wars, playing Astro Bot, like catching up on all of these embargoes that are coming up. Like it's
It's
just
back to school across the
it's
United States and many other places in the world. It was just a terrible time to launch this game.
yes, it
Particularly
was.
right around the Call of Duty beta, as you mentioned, and the Call of Duty multiplayer reveal. It's like, why didn't you just delay it?
Yeah, they do the way they word it, where they say we're exploring options. I'm curious what the future of this game is going to be. Are they going to try to reinvent it? Are they going to completely scrap it? Are they going to release it with a new model, maybe some free to play, something? I mean, obviously, like, hearts go out to all the developers. Like, this just fucking sucks. There's no sugarcoating that. But if you look at this game too, 8 years in development. 8 years ago was in 2016. That's when Overwatch released. Also, you're slapping a $40 price tag on this.
And
I
all of the
don't-
competition is free to play.
Absolutely. Look
Mhm.
at Apex, look at Valorant. I mean, it's just a tough time right now. And, going back to the 8 years in development, I mean, it's so different now. And you have to strike gold for something to succeed in this hero shooter genre. I mean, if you're going to believe the rumors, it sounds like X Defiant isn't doing too hot either right now. And it's just a bummer. I can't say it's surprising, but it is a bummer. And obviously none of us want this. But hopefully, something can be salvaged. Something can be reinvented, and this game can have some sort of comeback story, which we have seen before. But, yeah, bummer.
Yes, indeed. I am saddened for the impact on all of the developers who spent so many years of their lives working on this, because the internet has just been so vicious for just absolutely no reason. It's like
Yeah.
this game launched and it was a broken, bad mess and just didn't play. It's just a game that launched in a very crowded market that didn't quite hit its audience. But a lot of the analysts in the industry had been commenting over the last 24 hours about how the lack of marketing is more indicative of why it did so poorly than anything about the actual gameplay or the characters. That if you look at all of the commercials or the sell-through, the banner ads on websites, like the things we would typically see video games being advertised, that there's a giant lack of, premeditation of Concord stuff specifically. And so it kind of makes you think, did they just not buy out all of the ad space that was available for some unknown reason? Did they intentionally not buy those ads and knowing that they thought it was not going to hit? Or is this really just like somebody whiffed?
I mean, that combined with such a short window for them to test and fail or succeed does point to some premeditation in this decision. Like, you don't snatch a game after, less than 20 days if as a snap decision, right? Unless you're completely draining funds for servers, which they're definitely not to justify such a drastic pullback, right? So to the point of like they're exploring other options, I really do hope they recoup something from all of the work that was done on this, because as we've said and as we've seen, this is good work. You know, like there's a lot of care and put into this. There's a lot of thoughtfulness, and there's fun here. Like it's not an unfun thing to play. But the time, the model, the price, there's just so many things working against it. But what I really hope we don't see as a result is people giving up on trying to come up with new ideas. Like there's a lot that we've seen before in Concord, but it is an original piece. You know, there is a lot of heart in it, and I know that the people who wanted it to succeed really believed in it because it's something that they thought was worth your time, not because they were just trying to get money out of you. And yeah, it's frustrating. It is really frustrating to see people root for the downfall of anyone, especially when you know that people really did believe in this game.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, hopefully we will hear from Firewalk Studios again and get an update in that this game isn't DOA and that they can just go back to the drawing board and maybe retool some things. We've seen plenty of zombie games rise from the ashes and rise from the dead and come back and be successful. It's possible. And hopefully Concord can make it happen, because what a terrible waste of all that work to just let it be gone forever. So
Yeah.
fingers crossed they can work it out. In other news, this is more of a cheeky story that I couldn't resist including because I saw it. I saw it posted in so many spots. I was like, okay, let's talk about it. So the headline is, and this headline comes from Eurogamer, Xbox boss Phil Spencer passed on Destiny and Guitar Hero. Quote, I've made some of the worst game decisions. So I pulled this because Phil Spencer, who was the CEO of Microsoft Gaming, had the Storytime keynote at PAX West this year where he talked about games that shaped his journey. And the person who interviewed him and asked him the question of, did you have any regrets or games you passed on, was your girl, was me, Andrea Renee. I was the one who had the incredible pleasure of hosting Storytime with Phil, and it was such a joy. He's such a kind, wonderful person, and I loved hearing his anecdotes about these 5 games, but I couldn't not ask, a couple questions, sneak a couple in. I wasn't ever trying to be controversial because this was about the games that shaped his journey. It wasn't about me. But it was really interesting hearing him talk about that decision and also just realizing that as the head of such a huge organization, of course he's going to make decisions that, you look back on and go, wow, I wish I would have done it the other direction. Would have maybe made some better dollars on those particular franchise. But I thought the Bungie one was so pertinent because of clearly Halo's long history with Xbox and Bungie as a studio, being with Microsoft. But I thought it was a really interesting anecdote, and the Guitar Hero one I thought was fascinating too, because I never knew that was kind of propped up to be a console exclusive. And we have, a long history with Alex Rogopoulos, was a producer for What's Good Games from our early days and supported us for many years. So we love Alex. He's a wonderful person, one of the co-founders of Harmonix, who of course are the creators of Guitar Hero, but more famously Rock Band. I think a lot of people forget that they actually made the original Guitar Hero. If you didn't today, you learned. But there was a funny anecdote too of him being like, yeah, he brought in these like plastic instruments, and we're like, I think Phil called it playing Simon on a plastic guitar, and I was like, oh my gosh.
No, his quote here is, he pitches a game where they're actually going to make plastic guitars and they're going to plug into consoles and then they're going to sell tracks where you're going to play Simon on this guitar. And I'm like, really? Do we really think that's going to work? Oh, Phil.
To his point, it does sound absolutely bonkers until you see it. And then you're like, oh, this is fire. And we all know what happened after that.
Yeah, it flopped.
Exactly. But I pulled this story because I thought it was cheeky and funny that that it was getting reported on, and I was the person doing the story time at PAX. So if you guys missed it, it is available on the PAX YouTube channel. I highly recommend you check it out. It's a really fascinating conversation. And the PAX panel that I did for Life is Strange Double Exposure, Max is back, which one Mrs. Manuel-Peña called one of the best panels ever.
No, the best.
Oh, thank
The
you.
best. The best panel I've ever seen.
It was
Truly.
a really, really fantastic time doing a live gameplay demo with Felice Kwan, who is the narrative director, and with Jonathan Stouter, who is the game director from Deck 9. Highly recommend you check that out. We're going to talk about that in the next section, but had an overall really wonderful time at PAX and just, kind of great vibes. There wasn't a ton of news that came out of the show. We did get some Borderlands 4 concept art from the Gearbox panel, but they were not giving up literally any details about that game, so I didn't pull it for the news. And other than that, there wasn't really any other news from PAX.
Ree furiously Googles.
I do.
It's a new planet they showed off in the concept art. Ooh, my goodness.
It's pretty. New
Lots of,
background.
Actually, that would make really pretty backgrounds. I like the neon.
Yeah.
Like the neon, purpley on the moon, planet. Borderlands.
I love a slow tease. You know what I mean? Give me a few crumbs every month and just let me exist on bare scraps until something's ready to show.
No, baby,
that's
as a
all I
Dragon Age fan, I cannot disagree more. No. No.
Just give me
We've been doing
a drop
baby,
of
we've been
content.
doing foreplay for 10 years over here. I can't do any more of this. God
Just
damn.
edge. Just keep us edging.
I've been
forever.
edged. I can't. I'm not taking it there. Yes.
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 I thought about putting that in the rundown, but then I was like, no, because I think our fans also don't want to hear.
I know.
So if you missed it, a couple weeks back, BioWare announced a sort of roadmap for preview content that's leading up to the launch of the Veilguard for Dragon Age. And part of that is a month long of IGN First. Of course, they always get the exclusive, and they released 22 minutes of gameplay today. And I'm like, do I talk about this? And I'm like, I don't think
Nope.
so. I don't think so. Because at this point, I'm
No.
like, I'm not ready.
Next month. It comes out next month. And if I can just have a second and a half, I'm not sure how I feel about this marketing cycle that's going on. And I say that because everything that's being shared is even from the devs and the team, potential spoilers within. And I know you have to get people caught up because it's been 50 fucking years since the last game came out. And that lore in that game is so intense and so heavy that if you're brand new to this IP and you're just excited to maybe check it out for the first time, you have to have some sort of context, right? But for me, I see some stuff in there. I'm like, no. And granted, I'm sure I'll get to preview the game at some point and I'm going to learn stuff that way. But I want to know as the least amount as I can when I go into this. And I don't want to know things that I don't need to know about yet. I don't know. If you have to label your shit with spoilers within for lead up marketing, I don't know if I want to know. Oh my God, tentacles.
So
Sorry.
are the spoilers things that people who have played and consumed Dragon Age content up until now wouldn't already know?
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Some stuff.
It's like the previously on leads you to know what they're going to do in the next episode kind of deal.
Well,
kind of.
It's hard to know without, directly asking the team both at EA and BioWare about the marketing because, the EA team has a pretty heavy hand in the marketing. And so I wonder if they just do that to get ahead of the inevitable online discourse with a capital D of people taking the smallest little thing and being like, spoilers, why did you do that? And then just being whiny about it. And so instead they're like, hey, we're just going to label it all spoilers. And then it's up to you if you don't want to watch any of the marketing material or not. And I'm split on how I feel about that. On one hand, I'm like, I get the frustration that you're never going to please everybody. But on the other hand, I'm like, you could just do less marketing for it, but not too much. It's a balance, as we were just talking about with Concord. You don't want to do too little, but it's tough.
Just the right amount of tease. Borderlands.
The right amount NFTs. Like, tell us, like, Solus is doing something, woohoo, but don't actually tell us what he's doing. And I think that's the problem is we're getting, like, details on what he's doing and what his plan is. It's like, no, I want that to be a reveal. But, you know, it's all good. Like, we don't have long to wait, and I'm doing my very best to avoid it as much as I can, which I know is going to be very, very hard. But, yeah, so we'll just see. Also, like, Twitter's stupid little AI thing that takes stories and summarizes it on the side. Have you seen that?
Yes,
No.
it's bad.
It's so bad.
Grok
And like
is what it's called.
I literally just logged in right now and I was just seeing, and sure as shit, the top one is a big old like Dragon Age Veilguard, like hashtag or air quote spoiler that I probably didn't want to know, but it's part of IGN's coverage. So fuck you, Twitter X, whatever the hell
You
your name is.
can mute it, and I guess I would encourage you to do so, to use the
Wow.
mute tools on social media. Or you could,
for
you know,
yeah,
do
yeah.
just like me and just, you know, kind of be MIA on social.
Yeah, I don't know. But
Which is, you know, a
well.
legitimate strategy. So
It's the right one. You're living life correctly.
well, because we
Andrea.
also have Tokyo Game Show happening in like a week.
Oh God. I know. And listen, like I'm just getting ahead of this right now. I know our final episode is not supposed to have like it's supposed to be like, oh, kumbaya, farewell. I'm gonna have to talk about what happens.
Of course, we're gonna talk about it.
Oh, about my RGG summit, my next game. Oh my God, whatever it's gonna be, man. I'm gonna.
I would be disappointed if you held that in, Brittany. And I think
couldn't.
all of our fans would also be disappointed.
Yeah, I wouldn't be able to. I would be so sweaty, every pore, sweat, glistening. I look like a fucking donut right out of Krispy Kreme. You would know.
Well, everybody's thinking about donuts now. So how about we take a quick break and maybe you can go get yourself a sweet treat. We have some ads that are about to play that support the show. And thank you to everybody who supported us by leaving us a 5-star review. We appreciate you. Don't forget, you can still send us emails, comments, anything you want about how the show has impacted your life for the better. We'll be right back, everybody. This episode of What's Good Games is brought to you by HIMS. Hey guys, are you tired of your love life feeling like it's in a perpetual low power mode? Is your little buddy not quite living up to the hype? Well, it's time to give that guy the tune-up he deserves. Introducing HIMS, the personalized ED treatment that's about to make your bedroom adventures way more epic than a summer blockbuster. With HIMS, you're not just getting affordable sexual health treatments, you're getting a whole new lease on life downstairs. No more awkward trips to the doctor or dodging the pharmacy staff like you're in an espionage thriller. HIMS delivers your meds straight to your door with all the stealth of a ninja. Plus, their online consultations are as discreet as your grandma's secret cookie recipe. Did I mention that no insurance is needed? Bonus! Pay one low price for your treatments, online visits, ongoing shipments, and provider messaging. So, what are you waiting for? Say goodbye to the days of meh and hello to a new era of wow. Join the hundreds of thousands of HIMS subscribers who are turning I don't know if I can into oh yeah, I definitely can. Start your free online visit today at hims.com/games. That's HIMS.com/games for your personalized ED treatment options. hims.com/games. The products mentioned are chewable, compounded products which are not approved by or verified for safety or effectiveness by the FDA. Prescriptions require an online consultation with a healthcare provider who will determine if appropriate. Restrictions apply. See website for details and important safety information. Subscription required. Price varies based on product and subscription plan.
When you think about businesses that are selling through the roof, like Aloe or Allbirds or Skims, sure, you think about a great product or maybe their viral marketing, but an often overlooked part of the secret sauce are the businesses behind the brands that make selling simple. For millions of companies, that secret sauce is Shopify. Nobody does selling better than Shopify. They are the home of the #1 online checkout on the planet, with Shop Pay that boosts conversions up to 50%. That means way less carts being abandoned and way more sales going cha-ching. So, if you're growing your business, your commerce platform better be ready to sell wherever your customers are scrolling or strolling, on the web, in your store, in their feed, and everywhere in between. Because businesses that sell more sell on Shopify. Upgrade your business and get the same checkout that Kim K uses with Skims. Sign up for your $1 per month trial period at shopify.com/whatsgood, all lowercase. Go to shopify.com/whatsgood to upgrade your selling today. Shopify.com/what's good.
This is the part of the show where we talk about what we've been playing and any preview events we have been to, and we have been doing both. PAX, I guess, is one big preview event. There was a bunch of games at PAX West this year, and I think the one that was by far the hot ticket, and there was a couple hot tickets, which we'll talk about, but the hottest ticket of the show, The Legend of Zelda Echoes of Wisdom, was playable in the Nintendo booth, and Brittany was invited to get a special hands-on preview for media. And Brittany, I knew that you were going to move mountains to make sure that that hands-on happened.
Oh,
How
did.
excited were you when you walked away after you put the controller down?
I was a lot more excited, I think, than I was when I went into it. So the thing is, like, we all have a general idea of how this game is going to work, right? Just based off of the previews we've seen. You are Zelda. You have this thing called the tri-rod, excuse me, and you use it to scan objects, and then you use those objects at your discretion to platform, to defeat enemies, to solve puzzles, blah blah blah. It's like, okay, like I can wrap my head around that without even playing it. But then I think as soon as I started actually playing it and I held the controller in my hand and I was doing the thing, I was like, oh, this is really fucking cool. And it was super fun. And playing with my guide, he just kept saying, oh, I haven't seen anyone try that. Or like, I've seen someone try this puzzle, or I've seen people try this puzzle multiple different times. And it's just, so like, I think that's the part that I'm most excited about. So I got to see what was on the show floor, and also like, thank you Nintendo for like having me. And that was just a 10-minute demo where you are Zelda and you have to escape from prison. Essentially, like you're doing prison break. That's the intro to the tri-rod, and you get to scan a few things like like a table and a box and other cool shit, whatever, and you have to escape. The part I got to see behind closed doors was a little bit of overworld, not a lot, because I had to get to our party, so I didn't get to do a lot of the exploration, but I did get to do a dungeon, and I think that was like the part where I'm like, oh, this is really cool. This is really clicking for me. So a few like things off the top is this is a Zelda game, obviously. It's the thing of like how Nintendo takes their IP, they can add a completely different gameplay mechanic to it, but it still feels like that IP, and it's like this magic art they have. And so here we are playing a Zelda, but you have your rupees, you have the shops where you can buy heart pieces, you have the jingles, you have the music, you have like the clay pots, and you have the grass, and you have the enemies, and it's just like, oh, okay, like this feels really good. This is like comfort soup for my soul. So the demo I did, I was in a dungeon, and it was about 20 or so minutes for me to get from like start to finish. Again, I didn't really go off the beaten path and find the rupees because like I wasn't going to spend that money. I wasn't going to go shopping after this. So like I don't got time for that shit. But I was able to get into what I call the Zelda flow. And I don't know if y'all know what I'm talking about when I say this, but it's like you walk into a room or a dungeon room or whatever, and you look around and you immediately just know like what you need to do and how you want to get it done.
Yeah.
And you can do that. Yeah. And then it gives you just that enough little dopamine, like, oh, this feels good. But the beauty of this game is that you can solve these puzzles in the way that you want to. So like, how do you want to cross this gap to get to the switch on the other side? Do you want to just jump across? Sure. You want to be basic ass bitch like that? Go for it. Or you could summon like 4 beds, actually 3 beds, and just use those and stack them across. Or you can summon trampolines. And I say summon, it's just the echoes, but there's so many different ways you can do it. And I think that's one of the things that has me most excited about this. I'm so stoked to see what kind of runs the community is going to come up with, right? Like an all bed run or an all like XYZ run, and see how impossible or how far you can get, or maybe you omit things from your run. Like that's going to be so fun to see. And that's what I'm just like super duper excited about. There were rooms where you had to defeat all of the monsters. Now, again, Zelda doesn't have like a sword at her ready. So how do you want to defeat the monsters? I tried a few things. I tried summoning an echo of a rock and throwing the rock at the monsters. And these were keys, and keys are these little bats, if you don't know. And I tried that. My aim sucked. So like, okay, that sucks for me. I tried summoning other like cool little worm guys that I thought maybe would do the job. They didn't. And then I found my best friend, the sea urchin, ladies. Now, the sea urchin is like, I don't know what, if this thing has crack on it, but all of the enemies just like dive bomb this bitch. They're just like, oh, that's a spiky object. We should run into it. It's like a moth to flame. I don't know.
I
But
love
everywhere I
this.
went, oh yeah, I just summoned a sea urchin and the bats just ran into it and you know, that was it. They just destroyed themselves, and I just got to sit back and scratch my nuts. Well, I'm playing as Zelda, I don't have nuts, but I just got to sit back and just live my truth and watch all these sea urchins do my fighting for me. There is like a little twist, and I don't know if I've covered this in my prior coverage, but the Tri-Rod has a certain power meter. So like 3 levels of power. So you can only summon echoes that equate to 3 or less. So for example, like the pots, those only cost 1 power. So you can in theory have 3 pots with you at once. There's a armored enemy called the Dark Nut, and if you summon him, he's 3. So you can only have one of him out at a time. I didn't get clarification on whether or not you can increase that as time goes on. That would be cool if you could. But yeah, so I could only have one of my main armored boys out there at once, or 3 sea urchins, but it was still like a good way to live my life. Let's see. So there was a point where I had to fight a certain swordsman. And I mean, I'm sure all this footage has been out there by now, but I'm just going to keep it very vague for those of you who don't want spoilers. And the tricky thing with him is that he had a shield on him. Who could he be? So my sea urchin didn't work out very well for me because he would just destroy it with his shield because he's an asshole. So what I was able to use is, we've seen the bind technique. We've seen this in the preview footage where she's able to bind her tri-rod, her tri-friend, to this huge boulder. And what that means is everything she does, the boulder does. So pretty much it's just attached at her hip. So you can use this to drop things off cliffs. In this case, it was a boulder. You can use it to drop enemies off cliffs as well. So what you can do, though, also is pull things with this. So you can kind of imagine what I did there to get that shield out of the way. And then I summoned my little armored friends and was able to defeat the swordsman. So there's just, and that's just one way of doing it. I've seen a bunch of other people methods of doing it. I've read about methods of doing it, and I'm like, okay, like again, this is kind of like the beauty and the magic of all of this. Loved it. You do get a new spell or a new skill that I didn't know about because I think this trailer released, gosh, like the day before PAX, and I missed it. But this is her new swordsman ability. And well, I think it's technically called the sword fighter form. And this is basically, you have a sword at your disposal and you can summon this form, and it's really cute. Zelda turns into, she looks like Link. It's this cute little tunic and whatnot. And then there's a bar that slowly depletes as you're in this form. But while you're in this form, you have a sword, you can jump higher, and you have a shield. And then as that slowly depletes, you can fill it back up by collecting energy shards and whatnot. I just had so much fun with this, and I have a feeling that Nintendo's probably not showing us everything yet. I mean, obviously we have until the 26th for this game to come out, but just playing it and seeing the puzzles and trying to get fancy with it, but I was just, you know, like messing around and seeing like, what can I really do? Like test the limits of what the game makers have done. And I'm just even more jazzed now. I think this is going to be a feel-good, fun little game, and I don't think it's obviously meant to be difficult. You know, like the beds I've mentioned, you can summon those and you can lay in them, and it will recover your hearts. So if you are in a room and you're like, oh no, I'm like getting close to death, that sucks. Summon to bed, crawl into bed, and she'll sleep that shit away, and she'll be right as rain in a few minutes.
I love a functional piece that also has form. Wonderful.
Yes. But no, really, really stoked about it. I just walked away a lot more excited, and I got into that flow, and it just felt really fun. So yeah, love it, love it, love it. Excited to play the whole thing and see where or how it gets more intricate, I guess. Like I just have a feeling there's going to be more to this than we know, and like what that is, I don't know yet. But it's just my spidey senses. But yeah, loved it. Super cute.
Britt, I'm not surprised at all that you loved it. This absolutely looks completely like your shit. I did forget that this is coming out in just a couple of weeks. So we're also going to have to talk about Zelda on the finale too.
Ooh, it's just, again, it's the year of Britt. It just is. I can't control it. Sometimes I'm God's favorite, and this year I'm God's favorite. I mean, go me.
I love that. I love that for you, though. That's good. It's good to have lots of things that are exciting and that, you know, want to make you play games. And I know the next game we're talking about, Riana has been very excited about. And I'm talking about Astro Bot. But as I say that, I'm like, do we talk about Life is Strange first?
Ooh, yeah.
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 Yeah. Okay. So before we dive into what we played from Life is Strange Double Exposure at PAX West, I think it goes without saying that we did sponsored work with Life is Strange Double Exposure. If you've been listening to the podcast for the last month, or really the last 6.5 years, almost 7 years, probably 7 years at this point. Actually, it's 7 years from PAX 2017. We have done multiple sponsored events with Square Enix. They have been a very amazing collaborator with us, and they've just really kind of welcomed us into the fold, doing these really cool activations with the Life is Strange franchise over several years. So I think it goes without saying that we're in the pocket of Life is Strange, quite literally. But we also are giant fans of the franchise and are legitimately excited about everything that this brand is doing. And I'm personally like jazzed that Max is back. When the game got announced back at Xbox Game Showcase in June, we were all pumped, and we recorded a reaction to it with Elise Willems. And if you remember, that got eaten by the technical gods. So unfortunately, that interview is lost to time. But was very pumped that they were going to have a playable and that the panel that I hosted was going to do a live gameplay demo with the devs. So before I go into my thoughts, I would love to hear from you two ladies about what you played and what you think about the game.
Let's go in chronological order because Brittany played it first.
Okay.
Oh, okay. What I thought about what I played. So in the demo that I played, and Andrea was not at your panel, I'm so sorry, but did you do the camera mission, or was that just Rihanna that did that one?
That was the mission that we did the live playthrough of. Yeah.
Got it. My initial reactions was like, holy shit, this game looks beautiful. It is animated just gorgeously. And what a step up. I mean, I love the first Life is Strange so much, but it just makes me so happy and so giddy to see it look this much better now. I don't know. I just love it when like games just like flourish and just whatever. But I think what felt the best to me was seeing Max again. I've loved all the other games. I love the other characters, obviously, but for me, Max is Life is Strange, and I've really connected with her, and that's why I love the first one so much. Is she reminds me so much of me and what I aspired to be when I was her age. And so seeing her back and seeing her wizened and probably a little hardened and sticking up for what she feels like is right in the moment, I think that's where my connection is really forming with this game so far. And obviously, like, there's the mechanics and all of the going between the parallel universes and the parallel stories, or what's the technical term they're calling it? The parallel worlds, timelines.
I mean, yeah, they're calling it timelines. There's
Okay.
2 timelines. So on the panel, it was really interesting listening to the game director Jonathan Stouter talk about it as, if you think about Max's rewind power that was in the first game, where she kind of goes back and forward in time. This power going between the 2 timelines is her going side to side almost. It's more of a lateral movement in time versus a front to back.
Yeah, that makes sense. And what I also love about this timeline difference is, you know me, I love to snoop. That's just my thing. And shout out to the old Rockets New School, like games back in the day. You have these text messages and you have all these social apps. And if you look through the messages on either timeline, they're going to be different, vastly different compared to what's going on in the other one. And so I think that's the part, like, again, I'm going to be really excited to do the puzzle mechanic of modifying one thing in one timeline and seeing how it reacts in the other timeline and bringing an item from one to the other. That's cool and all, but for me, like, where Life is Strange really shines is the characters, the snooping, and just the interaction and the choices you can make. And I think we're going to get lots of that. Obviously, we only had one mission, but just seeing what I got to see, I was like, oh yes, we're back, baby. We're so back.
Yeah, so the power that Brittany's referring to, just to get a little technical with the demo, and then Brianna, please do jump in, is called shifting. So what Max will do is at certain shift points in each of the levels designated by these kind of glowy firefly, like little white dots that are glowing in the level, she'll do this animation where she kind of almost like she's opening like a closet door or pushing aside a curtain, but it literally shifts the timeline into another world. And when we were talking about it during the gameplay presentation during the panel, Stouter was describing it as using all of these different photography effects because double exposure is a photography effect that you do. And so they use like light flares and all of these other different types of photography terms and special effects to create this visual representation of splitting the world between the timelines. And you'll see certain objects in one timeline that don't exist in another. You can listen to people in different timelines, and it all contributes to a puzzle element in the game that I think is really exciting.
Yeah, I think something that I picked up on from the panel as well, where we saw the gameplay live, was how this new set of powers for Max are still developing like throughout the course of the game. And it's not going to do. I'm assuming it's not going to do that thing where you start the first level and you have all the powers and then they reset you for a story beat. Like, no, you're literally like the moment where Max, is starting to come to terms with the fact that her friend has been murdered, not just is dead, murdered. So there's a lot of emotion there. She kind of breaks her streak of not going back and using her time rewind powers because she's been trying to live incognito this whole time, right? And it's a time jump. Like, she's a bit older. She's now a mentor to other people at this program at school, and she's trying to live her life as a quote unquote normie. And this traumatic event happens, and she's moved to try to reach back and fix this, injustice for her. And this shift happens, as Andrea's describing, where she just like rips the world apart essentially and is in a different timeline where it didn't happen, but then doesn't understand this new power right away and doesn't quite understand what its implications are, that it's different from what she's used to doing before. So throughout the gameplay demo that we saw, like, you as the character maybe make a mistake and then Max says, "Oh no, what did I do? I got caught snooping around," for instance, and she has another emotional moment where, she rewinds time and it's like it was before, but this time there's a bloody nose and she's like, wait, what happened? And then there's another moment even further into the gameplay demo where she's like, oh god, like, I almost messed up, I almost got caught, what am I gonna do? And her hands are touching something that she's like, I just wish this was in between me and this person who can almost see me. And then she sees it glowing and then she presses in a little harder and then it moves to the other timeline. And it's just like she's still trying to come to terms with like what these new powers are, how she can potentially use them, and what they're doing to her. And I love that there's that sort of sub story, or that through line of like, this is a character that a lot of people who've played the first game have seen and have spent a lot of time with, but she's still learning and growing in the second one, in this new adventure. So I think it's really interesting to see that from both the mechanics and gameplay perspective, but also narratively. Like, this is a new adult Max, and what does that mean?
It was also
Really
so
cool.
interesting to hear about the way that they change some of the elements of the game to go darker, weirder, more Twin Peaks. I was talking to Felice Kwan during the gameplay demo, and I kind of made a joke about how Life is Strange is got all of these really traumatic twists for the protagonists. They all have to go through some kind of trauma. And they talked about how the franchise has this through narrative of supernatural things happening, but that they wanted to go darker with this game. And I was like, oh, okay, that's interesting that that's going to be the tone of what we're going to see this time around, and how that's going to manifest in the game and the choices that you make, which is, of course, a hallmark of Life is Strange as well, that, there are going to be key pivotal moments where you're going to have to make a choice that's going to impact the outcome of the game. And I am just so interested to see how these characters come together, how the powers are going to work between the two storylines, and also like, dang, why does another Why does another friend have to die?
I know you were talking about going darker. I'm like, damn, like it's already pretty freaking dark, man. We're in that dark tunnel. We don't. There has to be some light there.
I know, I
Oh
know. And of
God.
course, we had to ask about Chloe because that's been something that's been in the comments everywhere. Of course, the double ending from the first game. And, they were very clear that they're like, listen, we're not really, answering things about Chloe, but essentially saying there are two paths depending on which path you choose as the ending that you're going with for what happened in the original events of the game.
That sounds like 2 playthroughs to me.
It sure does. Or multiple, I guess. I guess got to get good at scum saving.
Yeah, we also
but-
don't know if there's an official number of endings that was carefully dodged at the panel when someone asked about it.
Well, they had publicly already said that they recognized both endings of the first game.
No, I mean for this next one.
Oh,
we don't
yeah,
know
no, they-
exactly how many playthroughs you'll need to do to see.
I
what could
appreciated
happen
that
with
they
this.
didn't because what a spoilery question to ask. There were some really
Yeah.
amazing questions asked during the Q&A portion of the panel. And it's kind of a toss-up if you're going to get people who ask thoughtful questions or people who ask selfish narrative questions or like, just tell me all the secrets. And everyone in the audience is like, no, please don't. Spoilers. So I'm glad that they didn't answer that to leave it up for player discovery. And the game comes out soon, which is really exciting.
Yeah, and they had a really cool setup where if you pre-order, you can get episodes 1 and 2. Was it 2 weeks?
2 weeks early.
Oh.
Yeah. So there's that fun water cooler moment where, if you're really super into it, you can start talking about it and theory crafting and comparing notes on the different playthroughs and paths that you've taken from your friends. So I like when they have that moment where everybody can, vibe around the story and, get excited for the next one. I like episodic releases. I know it's not for everyone, but I'm glad that they have at least a little bit of that spirit with the pre-order.
And you get a Moogle hat.
A
And you
Moogle?
get a Moogle
Yeah, you get a
hat.
Final Fantasy outfit in the pre-order.
Say no more.
With I think it's with the Ultimate Edition. I think that's what they said.
Yeah, and you can have it'll
Oh
be
my God,
in the
it's so cute.
cutscenes. The big dramatic sappy cutscenes will be playing out with this Moogle hat.
It's so freaking cute, but I don't think I could do it. I think it would just take me out of the immersion. But that
It
is
may.
really freaking cute. Oh my God.
Yeah.
It's fun they took
Definitely,
the time to
definitely
animate that.
silly. But I mean, maybe it's for like playthrough number 3 or something where you're not going to get shocked by anything that you see. But the game looks great. I'm very excited to play. The team has been hard at work on it, and another shout out to the wonderful team at Deck 9 and Square Enix for partnering with us on that. And everybody I talked to that played it seems pumped. So the powers look cool, the storyline looks cool, and it comes out October 29th.
Yeah, not that long.
But a game that is out much, much sooner that has also got a lot of hype and was also at PAX West. Astro Bot.
Oh, I thought you were going to talk about Pick Me. Okay.
Oh no, because we don't have a ton of time, so we might have to bump some
joking.
stuff to next week. So I mean,
Absolutely
we don't have to talk a
joking.
lot about Astro Bot because I know that you're powering through it right now, and I have only started to dabble, but. Thank you to PlayStation and Sony Interactive for sending over the codes for early access for Astro Bot. The game is being played, of course, exclusively on PlayStation 5. And all of the footage that you guys see is either trailers from the PlayStation YouTube channel or some of the B-roll that PlayStation provided us. It is not captured by us, but it is all from the PS5. So that said, this was a game I was pumped to play, but then we were like, we're at PAX. But that booth was never empty. Everybody wanted to play Astro Bot, and you've powered through over half of the game already?
Not over half. I think I might be right around 50%. So
Okay.
when you're, collecting the bots as you do, you see a little counter in the corner of your screen, and I have 143 out of 300.
Dang, that's so
about, like, the progress.
many.
Yes, a lot of bots. And from the information from Sony, there are, quote, over 150 iconic PlayStation heroes scattered throughout. So there are quite a few cameos, and I will not spoil those moments for people because some of them are really, really special. And, you know,
Hmm.
if you are a huge fan of Sony, if you've been playing like deep into their roster, there's a lot of deep cuts that I'd had to look up that I didn't recognize at all. And you're gonna be delighted by this. So there's so much to talk about. I'll try my best to get through it quickly, and not, obviously I can't cover absolutely everything because we have limited time here. But if you like platformers, if you like Super Mario Galaxy, if you enjoyed Ratchet and Clank, you're gonna love this game. It's delightful, and I mean just like straight up delightful. The integration with the Dual Sense, honestly, the first 3 minutes, I was like, oh, I will never play this game without this controller in my hand. It can't be played any other way. It is so special and such an interesting way to experience a game. Now, I realize that that's not accessible to every single player out there, and they have a few limited accessibility options. Notably, you can tweak camera controls, you can switch the gyro controls to be stick inputs instead. They have a couple of like things that you can do to change visuals or audios to haptic feedback instead. Like they've done what they can, but a lot of the magic from this game does really come from the full is like all of the senses being involved except taste, I guess. But
Lick it.
it's really, really special to first of all come into this game as somebody who is a newer Sony fan and still have all those surprise and delight moments we saw in the trailer footage there that Andrea was just playing. At one point, you get a God of War bot, and you have the axe, the what is it, the frost axe or whatever,
The Leviathan axe.
the Leviathan axe, and your controls change, right? It's almost like Kirby. You get the axe and you become a Kratos facsimile, and you get to aim and throw the axe at different enemies, and they turn into frozen enemies and ice blocks, and you can use that to start maybe traversing places, or you can throw the axe at certain points to, like freeze the stage. And like they really inhabit the spirit, or embody the spirit of each of the characters that you turn into once you find them, and it becomes like a little mini baby version of that game, which is so cool, right? And they didn't have to do that, you know what I mean? Like they could have easily just made it, you find a bot and then you move on, but they didn't. They didn't stop there. The meta story is that your PlayStation 5 has, just been destroyed, and it crashes on this planet, and all of the parts get scattered to the galaxy, and you have to go collect the bots in order to find parts and, battle bosses and aliens and huge octopus like Wako Taco enemies, which was a cute one. And get all of the different pieces to your like your motherboard and everything put back together so that you can power up your PlayStation again. And even without that storyline, it's such a cute idea that you're literally building a PlayStation like by going through its history. And the cameos are really amazing and sweet. The platforming is flawless.
That's what I was
Everything I
gonna
did
ask about.
felt sharp. It felt fair. I understood what I was supposed to do as soon as I was, introduced to the new challenge. There are a few hidden things here and there, but like basically around every corner, you're going to find a chest with coins in it. You're going to find a puzzle piece. You're going to find another bot, and you can kind of hear them like crying out too every once in a while when you get close to them. If you go through a level and you're still missing bots or puzzle pieces or things that are hidden, you can go back down to the planet again, and there will be a little birdhouse there that you can unlock for 200 coins, which is easy to find. And you can pull a bird out, and the birdie will sort of act as a homing beacon for you to find the hidden stuff. So you can either ignore it and go in and choose that level of difficulty and try to find it on your own, or they have a helper that you can purchase. And there is no such thing as a fail state. If you fall off the edge, you just reload right at the checkpoint. The checkpoints are very generous. It does not feel like you have to do everything all over again from the beginning if you accidentally slip off the edge or fall into lava or what have you. There are some challenge levels, and I won't get into details of how you find them because that's part of the magic. But these challenge levels are a pain. They're
Are they
actually
the same ones we did at Summer Game Fest?
one of them is similar. Yeah.
Okay,
No, that one's in the game, but there are a lot of the ones that are the most painful are very similar. Essentially, these are the hard mode levels, right, where you're trying to get through an entire stage without falling off the edge of a very narrow path, or you have a certain amount of time and you have to race through and try not to let the enemies or the obstacles slow you down, or you have to try not to double jump, because when Astro Bot double jumps, little lasers shoot out of his feet, and if you do, then the whole platform you're on is glass, and it'll start breaking underneath you. So these are things and mechanics that are introduced in the levels, but excuse me, but they present it to you in like one huge long run, and you can't make a single mistake, or you have to go back to the beginning. Those are tough, but they are only rewarded by giving you one bot. And so far, none of those have been a special bot that I felt like, oh no, I can't believe everyone who has hard time with this platforming is gonna miss this. Like they've been ones that are like, again, more of a deep cut, right? It's going to reward you for that extra effort, but it's not going to punish people who would love to see, like Parappa the Rapper, for instance, which you're seeing on the screen right now. So I think they did a really great job with balancing the reward versus the difficulty. The levels are super inventive. I'd put it up there with Psychonauts, where it's just really creative how they took different concepts like construction, or, under the sea, or a level below the Earth's crust, and there's a bunch of underwater cave dwelling things, or fungus and little bugs that have glow effects on them because they're deep underground. Like they have a lot of really great thought put into the level design. The mechanics are really interesting. They keep it switching up a lot. Every couple levels, you'll find a chest that gives you a backpack that gives you a special power, like a dog that lets you shoot as a rocket. They have these frog gloves that let you punch, like you have, Go-Go Gadget arms, which we're seeing right now fighting the big Wako Taco octopus enemy. And all of them are very cute, and they make sense as soon as you get them. Like, okay, I understand how I'm supposed to use them. One of my favorite ones, and it's in one of the trailers, you get a little mouse backpack, and it makes you shrink down small, and then you can play through the level like Honey, I Shrunk the Kids mode. It's just like, there's just so many great ideas, and they all pay off. And I assume they did editing, but it's really hard to see where they didn't think of something and then go full throttle and just really push and make it make sense, because it's constantly surprising. It's constantly new and fresh, and I can't put it down. I haven't stopped thinking about it since I played it. I'm probably going to 100% it, like get every bot, get every puzzle piece, explore every corner of this little tiny galaxy and universe, and it may be my game of the year.
I'm so freaking happy to hear this. You and I played it at Summer Game Fest side by
Yes.
side. And I remember you and I were both so high on it. And after, I remember thinking, like, this feels like they're going after Nintendo platformer money. Like, this is, like, that freaking good.
It's at Super Mario Galaxy level.
Yeah, and I'm so happy to hear that the whole thing is like that. And the platforming, I remember thinking, this is probably the best platforming I've ever felt before in a game. And it sounds like that still is true. Oh, God, I'm so excited. Yay! That makes me so happy, Ree.
Yeah. I mean, and I hope I didn't even give too much away just with what I said, because there's so many surprises, and like those moments of like, oh my God, like there's so many. And not just with the cameos, but also with the gameplay and the way that you're traversing these worlds. Like, there's certain moves that you do on every other level, and all of a sudden on this level, there's a whole nother way to use it. Like, it's just so thoughtful, so well done.
Hell yeah. That makes me so freaking happy. Oh,
I just love
Sounds like-
not only the nods to the vast library of characters and IP that Sony has within the PlayStation ecosystem, but also all of the hardware nods were also super fun. And I remember in the original Astro Bot game, the tech demo for the PS4, right, was a lot of really fun, like little nods to certain Sony consoles or the handhelds, and we've seen some of that in the trailers that they've put out for Astro Bot as well. So I'm very eager to explore that. It just feels like a love letter to Sony fandom, which is really exciting. And I also am very, very pumped that there's finally a 3D platformer that I think I agree in saying that it's going to compete on that level that Nintendo has really been the king of forever, right? Like, I mean, they, define what platforming is as a genre for all video games. And there's been obviously many studios and games that have had incredible iterations of it, but it's been a while since we've seen something that's looked this slick.
Yeah, it's definitely a magical moment. I hope everybody gets a chance to play it.
Yeah. I'm pumped to play more. I can't wait to actually play this with my daughter, because I think she's going to love it.
Love it. Yeah.
Gaming and parenting, everybody. It's fun. And apparently, according to the ESA, 83% of gamers who have kids play with their kids. Who knew?
There you go.
It's very appropriate for kids. Even if they want to play a few levels, like you don't lose anything by them messing around with it. They could
If
just
they
fly
fall
around
off.
the galaxy world and just do
Yeah.
nothing.
And if they fall off, they just spawn right back immediately. I remember that from the demo. Yeah. Oh, yay! Add it to the list.
I love it. Okay, listen, I know you have a couple more things that you played at PAX, but should we save it for next week?
We can.
I have more stuff I need to talk about next week too. So
Okay.
we can continue.
Well, let's do that, everybody, so we don't feel like the show's getting too long. Let's spread it out, just stretch it just a little bit.
Oh.
And also, there are some family things that we need to jump off and go do. But I love that we got to have this incredible event and that we had an amazing send-off party at PAX, played some cool games. It's just a great time to be alive, everybody. Great time.
Good weekend.
Also, shout out to you, Andrea. I heard you on the keynote stage saying that it's never been a better time to be a gamer. And I was
I
like,
couldn't
"Is she gonna say it?"
resist.
I know, and I remember I muttered out loud. I was like, "Oh, she's gonna do it," and I don't think anyone else knew the joke, and so they looked at me like, "What are you talking about?" And then you said it, and I was both like happy and also a little ashamed. But props to you, baby, you did it.
It's okay to be ashamed. I couldn't help myself. But it was just a really fun show. I mean, meaning PAX in general. So
Yeah.
we'll be talking more about what we played because we couldn't possibly fit it all in one episode anyway. And we are excited to count down the remaining episodes with you guys. And don't forget, if you have memories of the show or certain moments that you would like us to highlight in the finale episode, preparations are underway. So send those to contact@whatsgoodgames.com. If you're an end of the episode homie, as you are if you're listening to me talk right now, you've got to have a memory. Let
Can we
us
have a
know. We're
shirt
going to
for end of
pick some of the
episode
best
homies?
ones to highlight in the finale.
Andrea, we need a shirt for the end of episode homies.
Yes. Yeah, that sounds great. In addition to the shirt that you already pitched.
It's a good
I have
one.
many shirt ideas, okay?
We'll just
They're
keep
very
the
good.
store open, for as long
Forever.
as possible. It's fine. It's all print on demand. All right, everybody, that's going to do it for us this week. We hope you have a fantastic weekend. See you next time. Bye.
Bye.